Welcome to Thriving Tribesmen. My name is Kuri, your host, and I'm excited to be making this episode. I know that you guys have heard me before saying that you need to show indifference towards sex within a sexless relationship, and that is probably the quickest way of changing over to having sexual success within your relationship. I'm very sorry for the rain that's on the outside. Hopefully it's not interfering with the sound of the podcast. But just moving on from there, I was speaking to somebody and I was trying to teach this because I've been teaching it on the podcast, but I've never really thought of a way of delivering it in a way that it's sort of the penny drops. And today was probably the best time I actually explained it to the point where somebody actually got it. And I'll try and do the same for you guys so that you can hopefully get it, and also gives me an opportunity to tell the story again, and then hopefully really nail it down to the point where I can frequently give that sort of eureka moment to people when I explain about having the difference within a sexless relationship and how that is the quickest way of getting sexual success within a relationship. So, back in the day when I was learning how to attract women, there was different stages I was going through. So I had to overcome the stage of actually approaching, and then I got good at approaching. So there was like a series of different things that I wanted to achieve. So I was approaching, and then once I got good at approaching, I had to find ways of keeping somebody interested within the conversation. So once I got over that, the next point of progression was, if she's interested, how do I get to kiss her? How do I get a number? How do I go into a date? And when I say how do I do it, it means that I was doing it, but it was inconsistent. So I was trying to get it consistent. So for example, getting the number was always inconsistent, or I would get the number and then it would be flaky. So I was trying to figure out how to do things consistently. As soon as I got getting the number consistently and she picked up the phone, that was me now that I've dialed in that sort of skill. And then the next skill was, I think, getting kiss closes. So I went on a path of learning that, and to the point where it was now consistent. And then the next stage from that was being able to meet somebody and on that same interaction go and sleep with them, which was a very difficult task to do over that time. And I remember we used to have a shared flat with friends, and there was two girls who were they were lesbian couple, and I got to know them. We used to flirt a lot, but with both of them. And it turned out that previously they had really bad experiences with guys, and then eventually they hooked up and then they were together. So it was this relationship. So there were times where I used to get these signals that they actually wanted sex or something, but it was something that I because of my ego and the time where I was in my age, I thought about, if I could have sex with lesbians and that being a threesome, I'll be like the PUA king. So my ego was trying to force me to try and do this. So while I was learning the skill of actually sleeping with the girls on, just on the same day and so on, I was trying my best to attract these women. So we would flirt, they would show me, they would be wearing revealing clothes, and I'll be like, this is on. And then they would give me signals like it's on, and then so I would go and approach, and then they would reject me. So it was this real game. And now that I look at it, they were enjoying the fact that I was chasing, and the fact that I was being shut down, and the fact that I was presenting sex so much. I was not tactile in the way I was doing it. They got a buzz from actually rejecting. It gave them a sense of power. It gave them a sense of that they got a control over me. So over a period of time, this went on, and I started feeling really dejected because I'm thinking, I really want to do this. And this is the same thing that you would get within a sexless relationship. Only there were other things that would not make it as depressing, because one of the things was that they were a couple. So the likelihood of them actually having sex with a heterosexual guy, really very slim. And then the other bit was the fact that they were my roommates, so they didn't want any complications and so on. So there were things that were around it, but there's a part of me that thought, I might be not good, I'm not that good looking. Started really imploding because I wasn't doing this. And when I was in the house, my game just seemed very weak. But when I was outside, and it seemed like I became more aggressive outside. So the way I was approaching, the way I was really analyzing everything in terms of the failures I was doing, in terms of trying to take a girl home, I started realizing that there was a big difference. And I remember picking up one lady, and I went to her house. She was a complete freak. So it was like on a Friday. And usually I would sort of pick her up, go to her place, have sex, and then sort of dash out as quick as possible. And not that all these women that I slept with, they always knew that it was more a fun vibe. It wasn't anything to do with relationship. So everybody, and nobody, I think only twice in my life have I had somebody now say they've caught feelings and they wanted more, and then I had to let them down. But generally, most people just knew where it was. They saw me in the club. They saw me speaking to lots of ladies. They saw me kissing lots of ladies. So they knew that I'm not the type of guy that could tie down. So it wasn't like me not manipulating to get into bed. So I'm just putting that out there so you understand. So anyways, when it came to having sex with this lady, it was amazing. I mean, she was a freak. I ended up staying Friday and then stayed till Saturday. And I can tell you, by the time I left, we tried, and I was just doing my thing, but nothing was coming out. I was orgasming. She had orgasmed a few times. And I was completely spent. And I was not even, if you would put the most sexiest woman in front of me, I would have not been able to do it. Just sex was just not on the agenda for the next couple of days. So I got into the house. We did the whole thing of, having fun and flirting with these lesbian girls. And we're just having fun, flirting and so on. But it was a little bit different because I'd already had my fair share of sex over that weekend. I was just having fun with it, but I didn't really care. So I just sort of, I was nonchalant. I was a little bit sort of disconnected to it. So I was like, we had fun, but I was sort of really not giving them any of the indicators I normally give them. And once something weird happened, the more I was indifferent to the advances, the more they pushed harder. And now that I understand it, the harder they pushed, the more they started getting a sort of a track of wanting to get approval from me, and they wanted some validation from me. And the more I resisted giving them validation, the more they wanted to chase some more. And it got to the point where we were now naked within the bedroom. I couldn't have sex. I didn't want to have sex, but we were there. And I was like discovering, I was trying to think, what's changed? Why is it that they're a lot more horny than before? And it took me a few weeks to actually realize is that the fact that I was really indifferent to their advances, indifferent to their sex, indifferent to what they were doing. Yes, I was participating and having fun with it, but the fact that I wasn't chasing the actual sex is what was making them even more attractive. Just to let you know, I didn't do anything because my little guy was not anywhere close to being wanting to have fun. He had enough fun for that weekend, but we still enjoyed ourselves. And that was the first time I realized that the moment you put significance to everything in terms of your sexual advance or sexual attraction and whatever you're trying to do in terms of seduction, all of that is what brings down the passion within your partner. So you have to be completely indifferent to whatever you're doing. Whenever she shows you some thighs, or maybe she's stressed provocatively, 9 times out of 10 I'll just react as in whatever, it's part of, I'm okay with it. I'm comfortable around you being naked, and you being naked doesn't automatically trigger sex towards me. And this is a very powerful thing, because in her mind she'll be thinking, am I not sexy enough for this person anymore? And initially she wouldn't even think that you're cheating on her or anything, but in her mind she'll think, maybe I'm not that good enough anymore. And therefore she put in a frame of mind that she now needs to prove herself that she's still worthy of your sexual attention. And the more you delay giving her that validation, the more powerful it is in order to actually make it exciting and passionate as well. Because usually, sometimes I do this where I sort of delay the validation, and the longer I delay the validation, that's the part of the seduction part where things become exciting, because your mind is going crazy and the craving towards sex is a lot higher because she's looking for that validation. When I do give her that validation, it's almost like this massive release that, yes, finally I'm justified that this person still loves me sexually, and this is what makes a craving, or at least craving you for sexual encounters with you. So hopefully that's something that will give you some idea. This is the first time I told the story. Like, I want to have to perfect the way I say it, so it's more condensed. I leave out some other details, but this is how I discovered that being indifferent towards the sex within any context of a relationship, especially when you want to have sex with that person, you can flip the power dynamic of that by just being indifferent. The person who's most indifferent is the one that's going to be wanting to be doing the approval and doing the validation. So thank you very much for listening. I'll be speaking to you guys soon. Take care.